What's up, what's up, what's up? We are live. What's going on, everybody? Shout out Robert, Kristen, Jay. Everybody else is probably just now getting the notification and not realizing that I'm actually on time this time. You know what I mean? Something totally new. Real quick, guys. What does this sound like? Am I sounding okay? You can actually hear me pretty good. The music's not drowning anything out. I'm not drowning out the music. At the same time, it's a background thing. Does anything sound good? You guys let me know as we go. So, we are talking about worms. Tonight, we are talking about worms. We are going to figure out the differences when you walk down the aisle at Walmart and there is 10,000 hooks scattered across the wall, and you're thinking, I just want a worm hook. Tonight, we're going to go over a lot of the different worm hooks, and we're going to even talk about some worms, and we're even going to talk about some little hacks and things like that that I've seen that are very effective as far as catching more fish and bigs. Fish and bigs. This time it's fish and bigs, guys. So give me a second. Let's listen to some music. All right, you guys, as we do every episode, we tend to talk about some of my favorite techniques. The Ned style, very favorite. Smaller ones, favorite. Littles, favorite. But tonight, we're going to talk about 3-aught. That's a 3, guys. Oh, that's a tough one to even get in focus. There it is. That's it. I got 4-aught. That's going to be another one. That's it. Look at the size comparison here, guys. 3, 4, and then 5. Even bigger. And then we're even going to talk about different worm hooks, and the worm hooks are going to range from the typical 4, which is one of my, you guys are going to hear a little bit of tinging because I got a glass desk, and these things, I should have put something down, but I'm a slacker like that. So this is a straight shank. All right, we're going to talk about the difference in straight shank. You'll notice the 90 here, straight shank. We're going to get up into the 7-aught EWGs. That thing comes right into focus because that's a big one. And we're going to talk about an interesting thing, which is I want to show you guys something real quick. 7-aught straight shank. You see how straight that thing is? There's really not much to it. When you put everything behind each, yeah, see, you can't even focus on that. It's so straight. Now, this is interesting because this right here is a worm hook that's used for ribbon tails and Carolina rigs. You guys see how offset that is? We're going to talk about all that stuff tonight, guys. We're going to talk about like looking down the aisle at Walmart, you know, or looking down the aisle. We're going to get into different rigging techniques as far as, sorry, you guys, if you can hear the dogs, they get excited. We're going to talk about different rigging techniques as far as Texas rig. We already know we're going to do a little Ned rig talk. We're going to do a little talk about what weight sizes we're looking at. We're going to talk about little hacks that I've seen people do. We're going to talk about bobber stops. Do you use them? Do you not use them? As far as, you know, for your weight stoppers and stuff. We're going to talk about hacks. I'm going to show you guys something that I never thought I'd show, but there's usually never anybody in here, so it's not like anybody's going to see it, and that's what's going to be so funny about it. But let's get right into this, guys. Give me a second. We're going to talk about all this stuff. Rod's talking about undulation. You're dead on it, Rod. We are going to talk about wacky rigs tonight. I know you saw that in the thumbnail. Look how terrible my Photoshop is. I have the worst thumbnails ever. They don't look like that for me. And then I put them on mobile and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it. I'm an originalist, meaning once I put something out, I don't really, there's going to come a time when I'm going to actually go through and edit this stuff up and make it look a lot better and do a lot better job with some of the older footage that I have, but I still enjoy doing it the way I do it. And you can watch the progression. If you like it, great. Hopefully more people will like it and we'll move forward, guys. Give me a sec. I turned the fan off. You know what I mean? I turned the fan off. There was no way I was leaving that fan on with my poles without their socks. No, that's how things get broke. All right, guys, we're going to start with the smallest rig, with some of my smallest rigs, and we're going to work our way into the bigger rigs. This is going to get interesting. You guys all know I do the 1/0 here. Got the 1/0 on the 5-inch. This is a new one, guys. This is a Zinker. This is actually really interesting. This is the Z-Man's version of the Gary Yamamoto. Now, the thing about this one is it's very salty. I mean, I'm talking very salty, you guys. You can stretch these things out real good. This right now is probably about 5.5, 5 3/4 inches right now. So it's swollen. It's pretty swollen, but it drops a lot slower. And I mean significantly slower on a 10th ounce than it would if it wasn't as neutrally buoyant and salt, so it's positively buoyant. Like, it's literally a floating worm. Now, I haven't used this in every scenario that I have, but I definitely have used this on this particular scenario, and I've caught fish of every size and every fashion, to include gar. I haven't quite yet caught a catfish. But one of the other things we're going to talk about tonight, guys, we are going to talk about leader line. Can't even see it. Invisible to the naked eye, that leader line. Look, there's still grass on it. I'm so ghetto. But there's a little tiny knot right here that you can't even see. Oh wow, look at that. It's almost perfect. You can see it in the red light. There it is in front of the red light. Yeah, so anyway, usually, guys, I tell you, I try to throw about 3 foot maybe of leader line, but at this particular time, this 3 foot has now been broken off down to about 8 or 9 inches, and I can tell you it hasn't affected the bait at all. Sorry, guys, Heathen Squad Cup's dirty, but I did wear my new shirt. You guys like that shirt? That's the new Live Free one. I like this one. I like this one a lot. I'm trying a new mic position, something to keep it kind of out of the way, and I'm hoping you guys can actually really hear me really good, because it sounds good to me, but that could sound like trash on the other side. Again, guys, this is high-vis green, and I just ran some black Sharpie on the line just to kind of fleck it out, so it makes it, they say it makes it invisible. Like I said, why don't they just make black line? Now back to this worm. One of the things that makes this worm so interesting is there's like a little pocket on the inside of this worm, and when you squeeze it, you can actually feel it, okay? One of the things that I like to do, and I haven't done it with this worm yet, but I did it with the previous one, and I never told anybody about doing it, but I'm going to show you guys something really interesting that it's actually the reason why it catches so many fish. You know what I mean? Of all sizes, of all colors. Kristen says socks. Yeah, I got my socks on, though. Here we go. I'll show you. All right, so you guys, I actually take small glass bead packs. These are little tiny glass bead packs, okay? And they come in all different sizes, and they have all different types of rattles to them. It's so tough. And they have all different kinds of rattles to them, right? So what I do, and I never told anybody this, but I actually take a hook. See this hook right here? See how bent out this hook is? There's a reason this hook is so bent out. This is the first hook I ever bent out on. So now it's story time, you guys. So I just started fishing down in Lake Harris, right, when I moved here. And everybody talks about the giants on Lake Harris. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I've seen big fish in videos and stuff on Lake Harris, but I've never really had one. So me and my buddy Patty started fishing together. And I've got like 75-pound line on a 400 series, which is like right below a saltwater series spin cast, and working a 5/0 EWG hook on a fluke, watermelon red fluke, right? So I'm throwing this thing up into a tree and grass line, and I mean, I'm working this thing back. I'm working this thing back, right? Everything's looking good. Next thing you know, I feel it. I mean, I feel something, guys. When I say I feel something, this thing, it felt like I was just run into by an underwater craft, right? That's how hard this thing hit me. I jerked back as hard as I could, right? Snap. My rod breaks. And I don't mean up toward the front. I mean like toward the neck. You know what I mean? This thing, I set the hook on this thing with this spin cast like it was game over. And this thing's only rated for like 20-pound line, right? But I'm up on 75-pound braid. Needless to say, I set my hook into the biggest stump you could ever imagine. I was twitching along and somehow wedged my line into the stump and then came through so hard that the hook actually bent. Not this bad, that's kind of like bad, that's dramatic, but it bent out enough that when I came up to get it out, it came out with a weird angle, something like this, like a J. You know, not quite bent up like this, but bent out like that. And I ever since I kept it. But what I do, back to the, okay, story time's over. So what I'll do, right, is I'll take this hook and I'll actually insert the hook into that pocket, creating like a chamber, right? And I'll leave it there. Then I'll come down and get me one of these glass BBs. I'll show you these things. Ow, it's a hook. Oh, great. Now there's hooks in my lap. All right. No, guys, I don't do any pre-planning, okay? The show is after work. It's not work. If it was work and somebody was paying me to do this, everything would be all set up, boss. I'll be ready to roll. I'll be ready to go live. 7:15, boss. Anyway, so we got this thing right here still inserted, right? I created this hole. You guys see that? Oh, you guys can't see that. There it is. There's the hole. Okay. Inside that hole that I just made, I am going to take that glass BB pack, which has a pointed end right there at the top. And I'm going to drop it. Nailed it. Listen, I put lotion on, all right, before the show, so you guys wouldn't have to see my dirty worker hands, okay? I thought I'd be nice, and now I can't hold even the slightest thing very efficiently. All right, hold on. I think I nailed it here. Doing it live! Almost got it, guys. All right, so check that out. Nailed it. I inserted that glass BB thing. You guys ready for this? Let's check this real quick. That's been the secret the whole time, man. I never told anybody about that, you guys. But if you can take one hack from me and like take it to the bank, put a stupid little rattle in the back of your Ned rig, and I'm going to tell you right now, your friends are going to hate you. I mean, they're going to hate you. They're not going to find it fun sometimes. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun, man, but it's going to catch all kinds of fish. That's the whole thing, and that's kind of what I'm out there for. You know what I mean? I'm going to catch any kind of fish. I'm going to take a chance on a big. I'm just going to be catching other things at the same time. You know what I mean? But that's been my secret the whole time, you guys. Just for everyone's information, that's how these worms, the Z-Man worms and me get along, to the extent of I love throwing them, almost to the point where I'm doing silly little hacks like that. This thing right here, if you build this rig with some fluoro on the same size line and you throw it around your pond or your lake, you're going to find yourself in a situation you're going to be laughing. You're just going to laugh. Follow the technique. Trust the science. Just trust the science. All right, you guys, here we go. I got another one for you. Check this out. This one's a lot of fun. Any of you guys smallmouth fishermen, any of you northerners up there, we got any smallmouth guys in the house? One in the chat if you're fishing smallmouth. Down in the chat, Rod said, yeah, rattleworm, Rod. I know, I make my own. I thought that was pretty interesting, but that's always kind of been my secret about that bait. That's the one that not too many people. I've never actually showed anybody why I do that. Let me show you guys something. Watch this. Rod, I'm going to come right back to the smallmouth and rock bass. I'm going to show you a killer for smallmouth and rock bass, buddy. I'm going to show you something that's just going to have you, if you do it, it's going to change your fishing game for sure. I'm just going to tell you, you're going to laugh. That is a little, I think it's 1 3/4 or 1 7/8, just shy of 2-inch, man. That is a little crawdad replica. Now I'm going to pair that. This is where it gets real interesting. You can use a couple of different techniques with this. You can use my favorite little 1/0, you know, the little shaky head style, or you can get a little interesting on it and you can put a bullet head finesse. Now take a look at that little convex, you know what I mean? It's not flat, so it's not going to sit perfectly flat. It's actually going to have a little bit of keel hook to it, so it's going to tend to sit like this, and it's going to give the presentation of this. Let's do the presentation of this. I'm going to show you how to rig this up. We're going to do a hack with it. Watch this for the smallmouth guys and girls in the house. Now there's little eyeballs on this thing. Can you see the little eyeballs? There they are. There's the best look at them. All right, so you're gonna make sure that that is on the upside when you put this thing in. So you're gonna want it to come out something like this. So the first thing I suggest, we're doing it live. Coming into my bend. Run it out. Okay. Bring it up to the neck. Spin it. Okay. The reason I say spin it is because that's how you're going to get it up and over that nape right there. That's a tough one to show you guys. But when I spin it back and then come in with my hook, that right there is deadly. That thing is going to sit. These arms are neutrally buoyant, so they're going to tend to float up something like this. And this thing is going to get bit. Now, once again, big hack. You can go ahead and just take you a fashioned hook like I had earlier. Hold on. You're going to take that hook back out. Okay, go right here into the nose area. There's like a little chamber there. You're going to insert your hook in there. Remember the one we talked about? The one that we bent out? See how I got it going right through? Because that glass pack is going to go exactly through there. And then your hook's going to come out on the side of the glass pack. And that is going to give you, bud, that is going to give you a fire rattler. Okay. And when you put a rattle into something like a small craw, something of this size, forget it, man. Smallmouths go ballistic. Okay. Rock bass lose their minds over crayfish, let alone one that rattles at them. That in itself, devastating. It's a trigger. It's an instant trigger. All right, I think we've gone enough into stuff like that, myself personally. Now I think we're going to get into some more rigging techniques that are a bit larger. We're going to go into the wacky rig, and then we'll work our way up into the Senko style and sick baits and stuff like that. We're going to give ourselves a second. James is in here. Robert, Rod, 79 Mini, my boy, Kristen J. Guys, thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate that. That's really cool, man. Give me 1 second. And the next technique is wacky rig. All right, guys, an interesting technique, the wacky rig. One of the things I did not get out of my bag, and I should have done it. I should have got my wacky rig tool out and show you guys what that is. If you don't know what a wacky rig is, you're going to see it right now. That is a circle or octopus hook. That is a 5-inch Gary Yamamoto Senko stuck dead center on a O-ring. I think VMC makes the O-rings on this, and then I hook this directly through the O-ring, not through the bait, because this is a Gary Yamamoto, and as you guys know, they're kind of weak. But it's a 297 green pumpkin, in case anybody was asking. Rolling. Now, what's interesting on this is a number 1 circle hook, and we're going to show you guys what this is. This is more of a live bait hook, and I'm going to show you guys why. As we looked at earlier in the EWG style, we're going to get back into this here in a minute. Let's notice one thing here is this shank is perfectly straight. When you look at it, this is a straight shank, okay? When we look at our offset circle hook or octopus, see that little bend? There it is. Look at that. See that offset right there? See how it's just offset that little bit? We're going to talk about that here right now, okay? I wish there was a way for me to show you guys the plane on this effectively, so you guys could see that it's just offset a little bit on that top side, which makes that hook the first thing that gets pierced. When you pull it back through the fish's mouth, it automatically heads up and into the top of the mouth or in the corner of the lip. That's where you're going to find a lot of your hook sets on this particular hook style are going to come from. We're going to talk about a couple of different hook styles when it comes to wacky rigging. Hold on. All right, Rod asked, do I put a rattle in that? Rod, you mean do I put a rattle in that little craw? Yes, I put a rattle in that craw. I put a rattle right through the head of that craw. It's just a little glass BB pack. Trust me, it won't interfere with anything. And I will throw that, yeah. And as I'm coming through and I'm bumping into natural things on the bottom, especially smallmouth territory, you guys have rock bed bottom. It's absolutely beautiful. You're not dealing with any of the vegetation or the muck bottom that we deal with down here in South Florida, or in Florida in general, and all the southeast pretty much. But in the northern lakes, great glacial lakes and stuff like that, you guys have that natural rock and bed bottom. You start ticking along there, and then after that natural tick comes that it almost gives the sound of the exoskeleton of the craw shifting. It has a sound underwater, and the fish just bang on that thing. They just bang on it. They just absolutely destroy it. Now, if you're not wanting to go with something like this octo hook, right? This is a number 1. I have number 2s as well, but you can use something like this. And this is getting like real finesse. So when I say an octo hook can take 30-pound braid, no problem. 20-pound fluoro leader, no problem. I mean, we're not going to bend it out. You're not going to do anything like that, because this is a medium wire gauge. I'm going to show you that. You guys see that's what's called medium wire, okay? When you start getting them thicker, right, this is what they call heavy wire. You know, you see the thickness on that. That's heavy wire, okay? Mosquito wire. Well, this is considered thin. That's actually what they consider thin. That's my little Ned rig style. Now I'm going to show you mosquito wire. Watch this. All right, guys, these are Gary Yamagatsu split shot drop shot number 2 mosquito wire hooks. Are you ready for this? When I hold this up, guys, don't laugh, but this is actually a circle hook, octopus hook used for wacky rigging and live baiting. So wait till you see what a number 2 looks like. That's mosquito wire. To give you an idea, I'll hold the 2 of them up next to each other, and we'll see if we can actually get a comparison in the gauge of wire. The big one is on my left, so your right. And the thin one that you can barely make out, the mosquito wires on the other side. Now, when you hear people talking about, I had a hook bent out, I mean, I could literally take this thing and possibly bend this out with my fingers, you guys. So when you lock into something on something, you know, if you get on something real good with something like this, you better be coming with some real light line, and you better be ready to fight it. You better be ready to give it its all for a little while, because it's going to pull on you. And that, I'm going to show you guys a video of wacky rigging here later on in the evening before we close out the show. It's one of my YouTubes, and I knew I hit something pretty nice on the wacky rig that day. So we'll see that in a little bit, in a little while. But back to the wacky rig, slow fall. That's your undulation, guys. That's your undulation. When your baits they're just undulating. Well, both sides do sometimes. Yeah, no, it's not going to do it for me. Now all of a sudden it's dead. No, I'm just kidding. The reason it's not falling is I got a little tack weight inside this side right here, so it tends to fall straighter, but undulates from the center or the egg sac, just like a natural worm progression does. So that's why this thing's not wiggling like the other ones do. All right, and that moves us out of wacky rigs, and now we're going to get into Texas rigs. We already know what Ned rigs are. You know, we talked about that the other day, but we're going to get into Texas rigs, different style of Texas rigs, and Carolina rigging. So this is going to get interesting. All right, guys, this one I got big setup right here. This is a big setup. I got 60-pound braid on this. I have got I think this is an 8-inch Z-Man Turbo Fatty Z. It's an interesting tail right there. They say that tail mimics a speed worm. Makes just a different kind of speed worm. Now I've got this on a 5/0 EWG hook. I've got it going to a 1/2 ounce tungsten bullet weight with a bobber stopper. And I'll tell you why. It's because I don't want the head to separate. Now I was trying to do some pitching and flipping, and I think I would have to go more towards an ounce if I was going to try to do that with any of my gear. Excuse me, hold on one second. Excuse me. Oh, that wasn't terrible. I wasn't really trying to do any pitching and flipping, but I was definitely trying to get down into some hyacinths and down into some, different hydrilla mats when we were down there. I didn't get a single bite on this setup. I was dragging. I was trying to pop it and ride it. But the reality was I needed to get some penetration through the vegetation, just so we're all on the same page. Yeah, Rob, this is definitely my bottom runner, but I used it more towards penetrating, like I said, through the hyacinths and through some of the hydrilla and stuff like that, to see if I could get down into those big fish that were lurking in the bottom. I didn't get a single hit. But again, if you guys don't know and you were wondering, this is what Texas rigging looks like. It's just a weedless presentation. You just double back your hook right into your meat of your worm, and you don't leave it exposed at all. When the fish comes in and pushes down on it, there it is. That's it. That's the best way to do it. It takes a little while to get used to doing something like that, but that's why I like the Z-Mans, because they're very forgiving. But I want to show you guys something interesting about the Z-Man worms. So I put this particular worm, this one right here, this is a Fatty Z. I put this thing on almost 2 years ago, this exact worm. Now, in appearance, it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it, does it? Looks good, right? Looks like a worm. I mean, it's got a little damage to it, and it's got an odd color, but the reality of the situation is this thing has been chewed to pieces. There is nothing left for me to actually stick my hook in. You know what I mean? I've absolutely devastated this worm. Look, The tail is being held by just a small little fractured piece there, guys. And within this contained the rattle that's no longer there because it's broken, because so many fish. Look at this. I'm going to say in upwards of maybe 200 fish on this thing in a 2-year period. I know that sounds crazy, but the reality of the situation is just that. I'm going to put this up in the 200 fish category. Multi-species. I've caught gar, mudfish. I can't tell you how many times I've caught mudfish, but I catch me some mudfish in case anybody was wondering. Now, guys, there is a ton of different ways to go Texas rigging, and weight selection is vital. You really need to pay attention to what you're doing. With this particular bait right here, I wasn't going to do much good in the open water unless it was a vegetated area. If I was going to do something more along the lines of working in open water and actually using it and fishing it in open water, I would probably have gone down to like maybe an 1/8 ounce tungsten, a 3/16 ounce tungsten, something to give it that slower fall and allow that tail to just give a little vibration. You know, like the vibration on these tails is just a subtle paddle, and when it's falling at a slow rate on a big neutrally buoyant bait like this, you're going to find that fish will tear it apart if it falls correctly. I mean, if it stays... Oh, hold on. What is that? There's something on the floor. Hold on. There's the worm we started the night with. Was on the floor. I was stepping all over it, rolling it around and stuff. It was terrible. I don't know if you guys could hear it or not. But again, if I wanted to actually fish this thing, I'm going to stick with the 5/0 EWG. And we're going to talk about all the different uses for these hooks, because this gets a little interesting. And I want to show you guys this because maybe your fishing isn't as bad as you think. And maybe it's just your gear selection given the fish species that you're trying to catch. And we'll go into that in 1 second. That's where I want to go next with the conversation. Swaney G, what's up, bud? Earlier we talked about EWG, extra wide gap. Extra wide gap. Now I want to show you guys something on extra wide gap. What I want you to look at is this point right here, and where it is. This is the shank, and then this is the eye, this is the bend, right? Here's what I want to show you guys. This is where this thing gets real interesting. I'm going to find something real quick. I think this pencil will do. And what I want to show you guys is I want to show you that where my line tie would be is here, right? Where I'm pointing the pencil, line tie pencil, right? But my hook point actually sits, I don't know, what do you guys think that is for a measurement? I'm going to put it at 1/8. My hook point sits 1/8 of an inch from center. Let's call the eye center. So I'm 1/8 of an inch up. That's what extra wide gap is, this area right here. This is my extra wide gap. Now I'm going to show you on a straight shank worm hook. Straight shank. Shank is straight. That's what I mean by straight shank. Now look at this, you guys. Center of the pencil. I mean, you're talking beast mode there. We're talking 3/8 of an inch. Easy 3/8 of an inch, you guys. Can you see that? That's got to be 3/8 of an inch to the center of the pencil and then to the hook. So with my longer worms, 6-inch, 7-inch, 8-inch worms, I'll tend to go to a straight shank on my worm presentation, depending on the tail style. Now, if I want to increase my hookup percentage and I'm working a stick bait worm, I would go to a straight shank stick bait worm. Okay, you're gonna increase your hookup percentage astronomically, guys. Okay, you saw it. There's a reason these things are made, like this, the straight shank worm hook. Now, I have an 11-inch Magnum that I threw like a couple of years back, and I started throwing, but it required a 7/0 hook. And this thing is there's just no reason for that. But again, EWG, so we know our offset is going to be right at 1/8 of an inch. Different hookup ratio for sure. I prefer the EWG for holding the fish because the pocket here, the groove of the pocket, where the fish is actually going to be, mouthed in. I think this holds the fish a bit better, but I think this, given it's still very deep pocket, that's not what I'm getting at here. What I'm getting at is that this right here is going to give me a lot higher hookup percentage, and I feel like I can hold the fish better with this one. That's just been my experience. I'm not saying that there's any difference. The difference that I'm trying to point out is the distance from the tip to the center of the shank. That's what I'm trying to show you. Next up, we're going to show, as interesting as this sounds, I think that's going to just about do it as far as the hooks go, guys. I think we've discussed quite a few hooks. We've discussed Texas rigging. We've discussed Ned rigging. We already know. I've talked about that till I'm blue in the face. We've discussed a few smallmouth techniques. We've talked about a few hacks tonight. We've talked about, I got a couple more things if you guys want to talk about those. One of the things that I've noticed over the last couple of months, I would say I've really been leaning on my soft plastic game, just given the circumstances that I've been throwing in. Oh, I totally spaced on this last hook. Now we're going to get into Carolina rig. Sorry, guys. Sorry, give me 1 second. I got my brain back when I looked down and realized there was something in the pile that hadn't been gotten yet. Now, let me ask you something, Minnie. You say you prefer the offset hooks. I'm going to try that crayfish. Yeah, Rod, that's a Z-Man crayfish. That thing's fire. You understand? And then you can either go with the finesse bullets head, or you can go with the same ones I get over there. I forget the name of them now. That's funny, because this whole thing threw me off with the hook. I want to show you guys something real interesting. If you guys have never actually tied on a Carolina rig, it's a fantastic thing to try depending on what you're fishing, but I'm going to show you the essentials of it. I don't actually have one tied on because I don't fish deep enough to use one, but I do here on Harris. Not that I ever fish it. Like, we fished it last tournament. It was awful. This is just an easy rig, and I only did it because I don't want to break out all the different components to how to build a Carolina rig, but this is the necessary components. You're going to need your main line. You're going to need some type of leader line. You're going to need a heavy bullet weight, anything between 3/8 and maybe even up to an ounce. You're going to need a BB, and you are going to need an offset shank worm hook. You are going to need a swivel. And basically, this is a pre-built contraption right here. Swivels on top. They put your bead. They put your bullet weight, right? Your main line is going to tie up to here, this top side. Okay, this is going to your fishing pole. On this other line, you're going to put your leader material, usually 1 foot to 3 foot, to your hook. Now, The way you fish this is a drag technique in which every time this, hold on one second. Every time this weight right here clicks, it makes this ching on this glass BB. Okay, and that tends to draw the fish's attention. This is going to stay on the bottom. You're going to work dragging and pulling. The lures you're going to prefer are going to be something that tends to fall rather slow or curls, because the leader line, excuse me, the leader line comes off this swivel right here, okay, which allows like a 10-inch or a 12-inch ribbon tail worm on a offset shank. Okay, you guys see that, right? Like I'll hold it level. This is what it looks like holding it level. Now that offset shank like that on a worm hook, remember we're talking worm hook here, because when I put the pencil in the middle, we're talking 3/8 of an inch between my pull, because this is where my line's going to come from, and my area that has the opportunity to actually catch in the fish way up here. Okay, but this particular bent shank will actually allow the worm to rotate and allow the ribbon tail to circle, and then that coupled with the swivel won't actually wrap up or knot the main line. It'll allow that bait to circle and flow behind it, and that's a really good technique for the South if you're fishing 25-30 foot areas, which in the South some people say that we don't have, but on my particular lake we have like mile of that stuff. You know, it's a big crater in the middle of nowhere, so it's pretty interesting. But that'll give you an idea, guys. So when you see these weird things like this in Walmart and you see all these different hooks, remember what we just talked about tonight and think about what you're fishing. You know, what I'm using a stick bait, you know, something look like a pencil, the Gary Yamamoto, the Senko. Okay, well, if I'm throwing it in cover and I need it to be Super Texas, I'm going to go with the EWG, because that smaller area, less chance of my lure getting hooked up. Remember we talked about that. But if I decide, you know, I'm good where I'm at and I'm comfortable, go at those stick baits, go at them. I mean, give yourself that 3/8 inch offset and just go to hooking. You know what I mean? Give it your all. Don't give up. All right, you guys want to watch a video? You guys are hanging out. I appreciate it, man. I really do. All right, let's see. Rod said, where can I get the rattle? Rod, these particular rattles are from a company that I do not, I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but these are the only ones that I found online that were available, was through this company right here, Venom Lures. They do some good stuff. As far as what I've used, these things are fantastic. These things that, now listen, smallmouth, warmouth, even largemouth bass, if they can get to crunch on this thing, they're going to shatter your glass. It's not a big deal. It's just a little bit of glass, but be careful reaching around in there, because I do not want anybody to prick themselves. And there's probably a California Proposition 65 warning on there somewhere that says it causes cancer. So I can't tell you to use those, but they work. All right, everybody in the chat. So what's up, guys? Is everything going good? That was pretty neat. That's a lot of information, guys. That is a ton of information for you guys to get lost in. Eventually, I'll do an entire episode on just something like the Carolina rig. And I'll show you like 5 or 6 or 7 different techniques as far as Rachel. Rachel says, use plastic costume jewelry from Walmart. Nice. Nice. That's what Rod said. But I'll show you 7 different rigging techniques that are actually going to get you, if not bit, they'll give you more experience. They'll give you something to try in the water that you're fishing. Now, the Carolina rig, they say that's a South Carolina rig, just so we're all clear on that, because that's for fishing south of the Mason-Dixon line, just so we're clear. And for those of us north of the Mason-Dixon line, we call this next technique, which I'm going to cover. I know some people tell me, you don't know about that. Actually, I do. One of my favorite techniques to throw down here in Florida, the drop shot. I know, the drop shot. Sounds crazy. I have used it. I have used it in certain situations. It will get you bit. It is a bed fishing technique that can work if you can find the bedding bass. Once again, drop shot technique requires a special knot, the drop shot Palmar. It's like a Palmar, but you run the line back through there again. You're going to tie yourself off this little hook, right? One of these little tiny hooks. And the way it's going to run is your line, you're going to leave yourself a lot of lead line, what's called tag line. The tag line is where your weight's going to attach. And you're going to suspend this little hook in a horizontal position with a small nose hooked bait and a little funny weight at the bottom that looks like these. Like this is a pencil weight style. These are like a pencil weight. And they also have them like this, which is a teardrop style. Now, depending on what area, like what your bottom fishing is, if I was to fish rocks, I would probably use something like this ball. And if I was in grass or vegetation, I would use probably something like the stick weights that you just saw there. And then I'm going to find a distance from the bottom that I feel that the vegetation or the rock, formations and stuff, I want my bait to appear to be a small bait fish that's just moving along. Small pops, that little bottom weight. I'm keeping my line taut on this technique. I'm not actually allowing to let this bait fall. I want it to suspend. I'm just giving the rod enough lift that a pendulum and a straight line is created, so when something swims along and bites what I've got vertically on this hook, I can land that fish. So drop shotting is another technique for the northerners. If you're not familiar with it, I can do a whole episode on different ways and different ideas for tying drop shots. I can go into how you do the knot and things like that. We can talk about 100 different things, but this episode was just a little bit more about talking about all the different types and setups for doing for hooking worms, and I think the drop shot kind of falls in that, because some of your drop shot baits tend to be sometimes small worms, which is interesting. Some of your 1-inch to 3-inch Ned rig style worms can actually be the deadliest of drop shot baits, just so we're clear on that. And yes, I'm going to find some more music. I was trying to do that today. It's been an interesting day. You guys want to try to watch a video? One in the chat if you want to try to watch a video. Mini, yeah, drop shot. Now, the drop shot, like I said, I prefer... I have found places where I can fish the drop shot down here in Florida. It just gets real interesting, man, because it's so... if you don't... Your water level never really changes. Your vegetation height changes. So if you're in an area and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I got this, everything's 3 foot, and then you come into a 4 foot, just put it away. It's not worth it. That and your buddy's going to laugh at you if you throw it. All your friends are going to laugh at you if you throw that in Florida. I'm just telling you, they're all going to laugh at you. So guys, does this sound better? Does everything look better? Either a video or one of your great stories. Thanks, Mart. I appreciate that. I actually remade my YouTube. Let me kill this music real quick. Hold on. I redid my YouTube channel, you guys. My picture that you guys get to see. We now have new sections. Guys, share this. It's great. There's a whole section here of just giant bass videos. Only cast to catch on bigs. I've got all of my episode trailers. So if you guys are looking for a trailer for a particular video, if you watch any of these videos in this section, you're going to find that the link at the end takes you to the full episode, which are right down here. All the great adventures with my friends in the fishing with friends section. That's going to link, any of these will link you to here. So it gives it more playability. If you guys if I have material that you guys haven't seen, or if you are suggesting the channel to other people, which I do appreciate. I do appreciate the thumbs up, and I do appreciate the subscriptions. It just gives me that feeling that now that when you look at my channel, it has more area for you. Then you can go down to the bottom and it's got different lakes and stuff like that, and you know, and then my home lake and stuff. But I found this video the other day and it just came up in my mind, and I was thinking to myself, wow, only 115 people have watched this video, huh? That hurts my feelings. But this is a great wacky rig video, guys. You guys want to watch it? Let's watch it. Let's see if they run an ad on me. Ah, look at that. Sorry dogs, man. Sorry dogs. All right. Can you imagine running an ad on 297 98 subscribers, you guys? This is YouTube tax at its best. You understand? YouTube tax. Oh yeah, you're not monetized. Oh, that's too bad. Oh wow, you know what? We're not going to give you any room on the algorithm because you're really not good at what you do. But here's an ad. Thanks. Appreciate that, YouTube. I really do. Doesn't affect my heart at all. All right, you guys, let's check this out. Uh-oh. This is why I'm talking to a guy right now who just literally came right in on me with his bass boat. You'll see him. The whole time I'm telling this guy, you might want to get your camera. I didn't think it was appropriate to put the sound in there. Could you get any closer to me, buddy? Because I cast on his deck when I caught that fish.
A couple of pounds there for sure. 4 or 5 pounder. A little one. Wacky rig. That's a little one.
I love fishing. I love fishing a lot, in case you guys didn't know. So that was pretty neat, huh, guys? You guys like that? I can do little things now. I'm figuring out the limitations here and how crazy I can go on everything that I've got hooked up. I've noticed that if I don't go full screen, it's not so bad. It doesn't really hurt it as bad on the CPU. But we're gonna figure out what these little pops are. I think I've got to get a bigger breaker. I'm gonna have to go to a 20 amp on this office / my room. You know. This is my kid's room. He's got his music stuff in here, and he hangs out in here, and he does his little videos, and it's pretty neat. You guys want to see something neat? I think I can pull this up. Let me see if I can pull this up. We'll do one more, you guys. This is, to give you an idea, my son's 8. He's super duper smart. Like, he really is. He's just a little nervous. You can tell he's a little bit nervous because of me. You know, as a parent, I am kind of on him. I can't lie. There's no straying. I know if he's anything like me, if I let him stray, he's going to catch a felony. But he made a video. I'm going to show it to you guys. He's been asking me how to do green screen, and he's been asking me how to do all this stuff, right? So I went ahead and I was like, dude, you know what, bud? I'll do it for you. I'll set you down. We'll do a tutorial. We sat down. We started doing a tutorial. He was so excited. He was like, Dad, can I make it do this? Can I make it do that? And I said, yeah. And I was teaching him about leveling and things like that, right? Hold on 1 second. Pause. Okay. All right. Now, here's what I want you guys to understand. When I say he made a video, he made a video 100%. There was no audio. There was nothing there. He found a stock photo. He did overlays. He did. You're going to see it. And remember that none of the dinosaur sounds are from any. He had to find them. Everything is individually pieced together. So this was like a 3.5 hour project, you guys. You ready? Watch this. So that was pretty neat, huh? Alright, guys. It looks like it's got me jammed up. I'm going to go ahead and try to reset this thing one time. See what happens. No. Well, we will consider that the end of the evening. We'll do... we'll hit this one time. We'll just see if we can make this thing work, you guys. Give me 1 second.
So yeah, the bite's slower, but it happened.
Oh, but you're going to let everybody know the bite was slow.
Everybody know how slow it was, but it was working in the end.
Love it. Yeah. Oh.
This dude. Your pose and everything. I was like, man, maybe he's got like a 5-pounder back there, dude. Maybe he's hooked up on a giant, bro. Nah. Like, dude, your pose. I should have got your pose. I swear to God, I was like, dude, you might have a 5-pounder on you, bro.
It's whatever.
Look at it.
And I'm back. All right, that didn't work out so bad. I fixed everything. Oh, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out this evening. I appreciate everybody's time showing up. And like I said, if you haven't looked at the channel in a while, take a look at the channel. I've moved some stuff around. There might be videos there you haven't seen. There might be something for those people that, you know, haven't seen my channel, but at the same time, you guys want to share it. Now it looks a lot more user-friendly. It doesn't look as crazy as you would think it would. You can actually, it kind of appeals to you. If you haven't seen any and all the big fish, there's just an area of just big fish. And it's just cast to catch. And that's it. And then, you know, I think it's going to be a lot more user-friendly. I'm learning a lot more about this YouTube thing. It's just, it's so funny to me that to watch a video with 116 views and a guy that has less than 300 subs, and you're taxing me as if this was, well, you know, and people turn away from videos from smaller content creators that they're trying to look into, especially on a channel with only 300 subs. You know, some people just like to let it press play and they watch the whole thing while they're driving around at work or whatever they decide to do. Well, I appreciate everybody's time tonight, you guys. Really thank you so much for sticking with me. I'm going to get this whole thing figured out. I'm probably going to end up picking up another computer. I hate to do it, but the reality of the situation is that it might be time to make an investment here around tax season and make that with doors. I've got to buy doors for the house and probably a computer, and that's going to be my taxes. Yeah, that's how I roll. But guys, again, thank you very much, and it's been real. It's been fun. I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya!